So you probably noticed that Dan and I were sick of garbage audio. So we got some nifty new mics.
Can you hear me from here?
Yeah. So you can hear us from anywhere. You can probably hear me from back here.
You can hear me from here.
You can hear me from here. Or here. Maybe even here. Welcome back, guys. This is part 2 of the diff rebuild video. So if you're just tuning in and want to see us uninstall the old diff, rebuild the diff, and then prepare to put it back in, tune into part 1. In this part, we're going to officially put the diff back inside the car, put the back end back together, and then wrap up with the caliper relocation brackets and the bigger rotors and calipers. So I hope you guys enjoy the video, and see you at the end.
Gotta get more straight. All right, well, we got the, I'm not even sure if you saw any of that, but we wrestled the new diff up in there. We're having trouble getting the shims put into place, but we eventually did get them. We put the new bearing caps on. We're just hand tight right now because we got to check backlash, and from what I can tell, there is none. Or very, very little, but we're gonna just snug these bolts down a little bit and then check it and see what we get, if any, and then we might have to make a shim adjustment. So what are we getting there? From 92 to 87? 87, so we're getting 5 thousandths backlash, and we want, I think, between 10 and 12.
Yikes.
So we're gonna have to make a shim adjustment and push the diff that way. We're too close to the pinion gear right now, so we got to do that. All right, so we just test fitted the whole diff carrier assembly and checked the backlash, and we were at only 5 thousandths backlash, so just a little too tight. We wanted to get to around 12. So what we're doing is, I'll do it this way. So we need to move some shim from the driver's side to the passenger side to shift the ring gear away from the pinion. It was too tight, and we got to open it up a little bit just to get a little more backlash. So we've gone ahead and measured the original shims that were in the car. Passenger side was 0.264, and driver side was 0.2854. I went to the 10,000 somehow with this Harbor Freight mic, so not sure I trust that. But all I want to do is take 10 thousandths from the driver's side and put it on the passenger side. So we're going to go from 285 to 275, and from 264 we're going to add, so it's going to go to 274. So I got to search through these shims and mic them all out, and then get but because right now we just somehow had these like just one piece shim. I'm not even entirely sure how that happened. Maybe this is a Ford thing and I don't know about it. They were just able to reuse the factory ones. But anyways, so I've got to replace this one shim with a pack of shims that equals 10 thousandths less on this side and 10 thousandths more on this side. So that's going to take a lot of measuring and figuring it out.
Just to give you an idea of how tiny 10 thousandths is, I can't even, that tiny gap you see there.
So I actually found a shim pretty quickly that is 10 thou. Oh, well, it was 10 thou in a spot. There we go. So that's roughly, I mean, that's the closest enough as I can get in my garage to 10 thousandths. So that shim will go on the passenger side. We'll just add that to the passenger side. Now I've got to make, of these other shims, I got to make up 10 thousandths less than the total of this shim. So that one's gonna take a little bit more time, but we got the passenger side done. Success. Can't even get these shims apart. Okay. So what is the minimum we've got right here? Oh, okay, we got some good amount to go. Put this back on. Wow, this is just keep adding shims. Okay, we're a little bit too thick now, so we're gonna take some back off. Boom. So that fits through 275, which is what we were trying to obtain. Although, man, there's a little bit of slop there. I wonder if I can get one back in. That seems to have been too much. Okay, so we're gonna just go with one less shim because that one less fit through. Now, this should be what we wanted to do. We're gonna put everything back in the car and recheck the backlash and see if we got it. Okay, you can see now we have more backlash. I can't really hold on. If you hold still, look like we're at 18, and we go to 29. Somebody do that math. What are we at? That's 11. 11 thou, and we were looking for 12. I'm calling that good, guys.
Nicely done. What a contraption this is. Yikes, we never have to do this again.
Famous last words.
How often does this fail?
Hey Siri. Alright, now we're going to paint this goop on the gear. I think it's called marking compound. We're painting this on the ring gear on a few of the teeth, so that we can check the pattern as it meshes with the pinion. In reality, we're probably not going to do anything about it. We're gonna really, really hope and cross our fingers that the pattern comes out good. But this is day 1639 of diff rebuild, so we're gonna just kind of send it at this point, guys.
Yeah.
So that's patterned. Now we're gonna rotate this bad boy.
I don't know if you guys can see it getting on the pinion back there, but
so what I was doing is just making sure it went through the pattern, the marking compound, a couple times in each direction for the acceleration and deceleration side, because it's gonna contact both sides of these teeth. And what I can see is that from my unexpert opinion, it's in the middle of the gear. Oh, you can even see that on the parts that are newly marked. It's pretty even across the gear on both sides. So we're calling that good.
nice.
Lucky.
You're an expert. Look there, newly installed Torsen diff. So what's the next step?
We're gonna torque the bearing caps. We're gonna goop up the diff cover, which is a new diff cover. We've cleaned the surface already. We'll tack it up a little bit and then get the bolts in place, fill the diff, axles back in, retaining C-clips back on the axles, put the spacer block back in the diff, and then we'll move out to the rear brakes because we're doing all new rear brakes. I think we've already covered that, have we?
We discussed it slightly, but yeah, we'll go into more depth.
Okay,
Cool.
Get your head out of my crotch. Okay, the diff's in the car, bearing caps are torqued. I think we're ready to put the diff cover on. We got a new diff cover, it's the Ford Performance upgraded diff cover. It's got cooling fins on it, it's also aluminum, and it's got a drain plug here, which is nice, so we don't have to pull the diff cover off to swap the fluid. First I'm going to, and rather than using a gasket, we're just going to use some gasket maker. We got the ultra black oil resistant. Poke a hole in this. Screw this cap on. I just noticed that there's this like fancy like groove throughout the entire cover, so I'm actually just gonna like apply a kind of a thick bead into that groove, make kind of like an O-ring with it. So we'll see if that works. If we start getting leaks, we can pull it and fix it. But okay, I got it applied. Sure, you could make it look better than that, but who's gonna care? I just don't want it to leak. I filled that groove that was in there the entire way around, and then I went over and redoubled some of them because it just didn't seem like a very thick bead. So now you put this on the car immediately, hand tighten the bolts, and then start tightening them until you get a little bit of this goop squeezing out, and then you're supposed to let it set up for about an hour before you actually torque the bolts down. We'll discuss amongst ourselves and see if we do that. Or if we just go ahead. And you're also supposed to let it cure for 24 hours before you put fluids behind them, but also probably not gonna do that because the diff's been open for ever. Yeah. So we're gonna throw this in the car and then turn our heads and look the other way while we fill the diff.
Cool.
All right, you can see we got the new finned diff cover on. I think I'm good. If you're doing this yourself, there's a specific torque pattern you need to do this on. Just look it up online. And I think we torqued ours down to like between 24 and 26 foot-pounds. You also can see this gasket sealer kind of peeking out on the edge. You want to make sure that you can see that kind of squeezing out along the entire perimeter. That makes that way you know you have a good seal. If you don't see it peeking out somewhere, then you probably didn't apply enough, and I recommend you take it off and reapply some more. But we're gonna let this sit overnight to let that seal kind of settle, and we're gonna hopefully get the drive shaft in and then call it good and wrap this up tomorrow morning. So
okay, we put the diff cover on without putting the axles in. So rather than fix that, we're moving on.
Moving on.
New project. So bad. We are moving on to the replacing the rear brakes and doing an upgrade at the same time by going to a bigger rotor. That's this adapter plate. Basically it mounts in the same place as the existing one, and it just moves the distance that the caliper mounts out so you can get a larger diameter rotor on there. That's what we're doing now, pretending like we didn't make that mistake. Well, what we're really doing is waiting for the gaskets maker to set up overnight so that when we go to take it back all apart, it's easier to clean up that way. Okay, we pulled the old bracket off already. It's right here. I also removed the old dust shield from the old bracket. I'm not entirely sure if we'll be able to reuse this yet, but we'll try it. Something that we learned from Ryan Cheek Racing, we watched her do this upgrade on her S197, is that she tried to reuse the bolts, the old bolts that came out of the old bracket, and she learned that they had stretched They must have been torqued to yield bolts. So they had to wait a while and then ended up not getting OE hardware to put theirs all back together. So we, thanks to them, knew that we needed to order some new bolts from Ford before we put this whole thing back together. We are able to reuse these. I think they're the deformed thread nut, or maybe they were old lock nuts, but they have this like captive wing on them so that it just swings around and holds against the axle housing to tighten up, so you don't even have to have a tool on the backside. There's this oddly like 1 or 2 thread feature on the plate that you have to thread through for some reason, but once you're through that, you can hold the nut on the backside and drive these. And then it just drives home. Whoa. It's probably over torqued. We're gonna go back and check that they're not past 50 foot-pounds. And then well, I guess I can try and throw this duck shield back on already. We don't have axles, so I'm not gonna be able to mount it, but.
Just to see.
Yeah, it's gonna be hard to say for sure whether or not that dust shield's gonna be a problem. I don't think it is, because it's pretty flat. So it'll just be smaller than the rotor is now. But yeah, we're put back together. We'll double check the torque on these bolts, but that was super easy. One thing that we did do is there was this like doubler. So this was behind the old bracket. It wrapped around the axle tube, and then the caliper mounted through this. I'm not entirely sure. We didn't order a new one. The kit that we ordered online didn't say anything about getting a new one, so we're gonna go without it. When I compare the castings on the old versus the new, they're beefier where the caliper mounts. Maybe they realized that actually it goes this way. Maybe they later realized that this would crack, due to stresses. So they used this to help support that. Not sure if that was the case, but this is certainly a beefier casting now than this is. So we're gonna run it, and we'll just keep a close eye on the brakes. You should do that anyways, but if that were to cause a problem, we'll need to address that. You're gonna need both hands for that axle.
Yeah, I know. We're back. Day 2. Both of our hands were tied, but hey, we pulled the diff cover back off.
Yeah, that's what you do when you put your axles in. I watched my recap of what we said we were going to do next when we were doing that, and I even said it in the wrong order. So thanks for pointing it out, guys.
Yeah. What the heck? So we got it back off. We put it on like 8 hours ago, so it really hadn't even had enough time to like settle, so it just wiped off all the way. So now that that's off, you just saw that this morning Dan wrapped up the other brake relocating bracket and just has the caliper sitting there until we can get the rotor on. But now we're gonna throw the axles back in. Dan's gonna throw the C-clips in while he's under there, and we'll get this thing all wrapped up. We're getting real close to getting back in, put back together, so stay tuned. That's the trick.
Okay, now pull it back out. Nice, it's in. Love it.
Nice. Okay, other side?
Other side.
It's just that easy.
Pull out. Done.
So, Dan may have won the KMC championship and got this sick bag, but we all know that the most important trophy from that day.
I think the microphone's down here, so they probably can't even hear you.
Oh, I unplugged it.
Oh.
So they can hear you. The most important trophy from that day
Wrong.
was clearly the most improved driver, which does not mean that I sucked more last year.
It's absolutely.
It just means that they see so much. They see so much potential in me that they felt I needed to carry my helmet in this. So So, I mean, yeah, I mean, Dan may have won, but who's the guy that got 2 bags? I don't know. Ask yourself that. Okay, we just made O'Reilly's trip number.
Well, today was the first one.
Yeah, but
Not the first one for this project.
for like the diff brake thing, it's gotta be trip close to 10. Not ideal. So, the diff is put back together. We just fill it up with diff oil. Now we're just wrapping up the brakes, and we didn't have any brake grease or goop, so we went to go buy some of that real quick. So, like you'll see, the relocation brackets are mounted, the calipers are on there, so we're just gonna throw the rotors on, goop up the pads, put them back together, and then I think we can move on to the next project. So we'll cross those off the list. Oh, and we're not really going to go into too much detail about the brakes. I think we've got more than one brake video out there already, and we'll link those in this video if you're curious on how to do like a full brake swap with all the goods. So I'll link that below, but we'll wrap this up real quick. Okay, so I think the diff is wrapped up. Mm-hmm. So you've probably seen us in like 5 different changes of clothes for this project.
Well, not me.
Yeah,
I'm
okay.
super dirty because I just rewear the clothes that I've had.
This was a long one over multiple days.
Yeah, but we did get 2 things crossed off the list. Still very overwhelming.
Yeah.
We got a long way to go. We got 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you'll see new brake setup is on, larger rotor calipers relocated, diff and axle and everything's back in. We did realize after we put everything back in that we do have a small leak coming out of the driver's side axle, so we must have damaged the seal at some point, taking one of the axles in or out. So
it's frustrating because we were there. We could have just easily pulled that seal and replaced it. They were relatively brand new, or not brand new, they were relatively new because you broke an axle at some point, and we had replaced them with some upgraded axles. We replaced the seals and bearings at that time, so I was thinking I wouldn't need to do that again. Wrong.
yeah.
So
And of course, to replace that seal makes us reverse a lot of what we just did. So
and waste $60 in gear oil.
yeah. So I think we're just gonna ride it out this season, keep an eye on it, and then just mark that up as like one of the maintenance things to do next year before the next season starts. So
Yeah.
yeah, if you guys stayed till the end of this build, thank you guys for watching.
Thank you.
Yeah, we really appreciate all the support, and I think, well, I guess the giveaway might be over, but if you guys were part of the giveaway when that was live, thank you for the extra support, and we'll see you on the next build.